Hello, my name is Frank Christensen and I'm the coordinator of officials for IFAF in Europe. This is the second of 6 training tapes dealing with forward progress. In this edition, we'll have a look at forward progress in the backfield, both by normal runners but also on quarterbacks on sacks. So we'll have a look at the mechanics of how we get good progress spots, and we'll talk about philosophy of how we can do that the most accurately. But before we get to the game film, let's have a look to see what the rulebook and the MOFO have to say on this topic.
In the rulebook, forward progress is defined in Rule 292. Forward progress is a term indicating the end of advancement by a ball carrier or airborne pass receiver of either team and applies to the position of the ball when it becomes dead by rule. In 513, forward progress, it says the most forward point of the ball when declared dead between the end lines shall be the determining point in measuring distance gained or lost by either team during a down. Exceptions. First one is Rule 851, which of course we all know deals with safeties. And the second one, when an airborne pass receiver of either team completes a catch inbounds after an opponent has driven him backwards and the ball is declared dead at the spot of the catch, the forward progress is where the player received the ball. In the MOFO, we go to 5-7 dealing with marking spots. In normal play, forward progress usually only needs to be marked to a tolerance of 1 foot. Since the ball is just less than 1 foot long, this means there are only 3 positions that a ball can be in between any pair of yard lines. A. With the nose, the most forward point of the ball on the forward yard line. B. With the middle of the ball midway between the 2 yard lines. And C. With the tail, the rearmost point of the ball on the back yard line. Note that in this system, the ball is never positioned spanning a line. And finally, officials need only mark forward progress to the nearest one of these points, except A, when the line to gain or goal line is concerned, in which case more accuracy is necessary. And B, after change of possession, a start of a new series, in which case the dead ball spot should always be marked with the nose of the ball on the nearest yard mark. And the when in doubt principles number 17 says, if the ball carrier is being held by only one player, the ball is still alive. If held by 2 or more, forward progress is stopped. Now, let's have a look at some game film. These first few clips are with our running plays where the runner is tackled for a loss, but the principle is the same in all of them. What we want to do, even though the runner is moving backwards here on his own, and that's on his own, as soon as the first contact is made, the first little bitty contact the defense makes, that is our forward progress spot. So whether this is the 31 or the 32 here, it certainly is not back at the 35 where progress is finally made. What we want to do is give the offense as much as we possibly can. And typically, I mean, we want to use our brain camera here to take a snapshot of the first contact and where that happens. And if we are going to err, so if we don't know if this is the 31 or the 32, then we want to give the offense the benefit of the doubt. So we want to probably here say progress was at the 31, and here we end up with about 4 yards more than that. This one is interesting for a number of reasons. Again, we have a runner who's running backwards, and then we have contact, but he actually manages to escape. Now initially, this would be the point of first contact even though the running back makes the contact. But I would still, give him the benefit of the doubt and make it the 25. If he's tackled right here, I would go 25. However, now he's free again. He is free to run with the ball, to score, to pass, to do whatever he wants. He is also free to get tackled, and now he does get tackled. So anything he does after he gets free is on his own. You could argue that, well, he only gets free because he's a better athlete, and that then comes back to haunt him, and that may be the case. But the bottom line is, as soon as he gets free and he regains his balance, which he does here, I mean, if he just falls down there, even though he's free, I would still give it to him at the 25. But here he gets free. He has his balance. Now he turns around, he starts running again, and then he gets tackled. Now I would give him progress here at the 33-yard line, where the wings here are very generous, and give it to him at the 30. So I think this is about 3 yards off. Again, we're looking at the running back and when she is pushed back, and this one is an interesting one for the wing, because the wing has a job to do with the tackle. So we, as wings, we may not always see the point of first contact if we're focused on the tackle here. I think this wing does himself a disservice by backpedaling into the offensive backfield. Keeping your front facing the field will give you a better angle. And again, we're looking for that snapshot with our brain camera to see when is the first contact. It appears to be around the 30-yard line here. And as a referee and a center judge, if you have a feeling that we're going to get an incorrect spot, if there is any way that you can communicate, or maybe ask the wings to question where the spot was, if you have an idea that this is less than accurate, you're free to do that. Also, maybe something to talk about in the pregame, how you want to communicate that if the wing is uncertain of where the progress is. Here I think it's around the 30, and we end up 3 yards behind that. As we're moving along, the spots get better and better, and here we're only about a yard off. But this one is a good illustration of a philosophy or a trick that you can use, where here probably is the first contact, which is the 47, and we end up with the progress spot here at the 46. So the tip is to try to take that snapshot with your brain camera, and then when the spot is in the backfield, give the offense an extra yard. That typically gets you to the right spot. A lot of times we end up shorting the offense about a yard, so if we give the offense that extra yard here, that would have made the progress spot absolutely perfect. These last two examples of runners before we move on to sacks are examples of good progress. Again, we take the spot of the first contact, which is around there, 31, take a snapshot with our brain camera, and then once the play's over, we go there. So this is a very good job by this linesman. Here's one last example of a good progress spot on a running back. This one, sometimes it's fairly easy when the runner going forward, and then he's met and pushed backwards. There's no did he move back on his own or anything like that we have to deal with here. So here the first contact appears to be at the -1, which is the 39, and then he's moved back, and we end up with a good spot here. This one also illustrates a good situation where simply because the ball comes loose here, that sometimes we need to come in and sell this a little harder and sell it as a progress spot as opposed to a loose ball. I think the referee is a little bit too loose in letting people behind him. Now he's got people or players from both teams, including the ball, behind him. And since as referee and center judge you don't have any real direct responsibility for the progress spot, you should do a good job of staying and keeping everybody in front of you. But again, even though the Wings do get a good progress spot here, we could have sold this a little better. Now we move on from running plays to sacks on the quarterback, and here obviously the quarterback is sacked and we end up having progress on the 40. However, the quarterback is in the pocket. I think maybe here is where the first contact it's a little difficult to see, but there's certainly no way that the quarterback ever made it up close to the 40-yard line. So this is a little too generous. Now we do want to be generous. Again, the same philosophy applies, that take where you think it is with your brain camera snapshot, and then give the offense an extra yard. That typically gets you to the right spot, but here it's just too much and too generous. So on this sack, the progress spot is somewhat better. You'll notice that even though the quarterback takes a step back on his own, that's on his own, and then here comes the first contact, which is pretty much on the 40-yard line, and then he's dragged down. The linesman up top has the spot at the 41, which, I can certainly live with that. We want to be generous to the offense, so if you end up giving the offense 1 yard extra, I'm perfectly fine with that. One note for the line judge here at the bottom: if you don't know where the spot is, if you don't really have a good spot because you were watching your keys down the field, which is perfectly understandable sometimes, maybe just hesitate a little bit before you move downfield and get involved. There's certainly no reason to move past the linesman who has a good spot. So instead of just looking at where the quarterback ended up, if you don't have a spot, just have a look at the linesman and then mirror him in the way that you move back to the spot. This spot isn't bad either. The trick here is, when the quarterback starts moving back on his own, so it's not like the first spot of where he moves back, because the first step or so he moves back on his own, but as soon as the contact here is made, this is the spot that we want to have, and I think the officials end up pretty much on the 42, even though these two wings have different spots initially. I think they end up on the 42, which is a pretty good spot considering that the quarterback moves back on his own. But again, it's the same principle: snapshot with your brain camera, and then if you have any doubts, give the offense that extra yard. Here's another example where adding that extra yard to the offense can be beneficial. We have a situation here where the first contact is right there. So the ball is at the 42, and this is really where we want forward progress to be given. And the linesman up there, he does a good job, but he ends up at the 41. So again, take the spot where you think it is with your brain camera, and then give the offense an extra yard, and that typically gets us to the right spot. Another thing for the wing that he does a really good job. I like the way he's sidestepping most of the way here. keeping his front towards the field. That just gives you better vision. However, this is pretty much where he starts coming onto the field at the 43, and he ends up at the 41. So if you want to improve this part of your game, make sure that you sidestep all the way down to where you want to square off, and then make that a full 90-degree angle. Here it becomes a little bit of a banana. Still good job, but there's a little room for improvement still. These last two plays, a really good job by the wings, who get excellent progress spots, even though they are looking down the field at receivers. So probably they're using our philosophy of looking at where do we think he was hit, and then giving the offense that 1 extra yard. Here they end up on the 35, and if we go back and look, that is pretty much where he is. You may argue it's just inside the 35, but again, if we're going to make a mistake here, I would much rather give the offense that extra half or full yard, because the defense is going to be happy no matter what. So we certainly don't want to shortchange the offense and make them lose additional yardage than they already did on this sack. So very good job by these wings. In this last example, we again have a sack and the quarterback being pressured back, and again we've got this line judge doing a pretty good job of getting a forward progress spot. Here probably is somewhere around the first contact, which is +1 on the red line, and he's then pushed back. But again, take your brain camera, take that snapshot, and then once you come back, you could just go to that spot, and if you have any doubts, give the offense an extra yard. That was the training tape. I hope it made sense, and I hope you found something you can use on the field.